Roll call for the City Council meeting of Wednesday, September 7th, 2022 at 9 a.m. Ms. Allen, Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Troop, and Mr. Witherspoon. Mr. Nelson's absent. Please stand for a moment of silence and a pledge of allegiance.
We just heard a horrific story about a woman from Erie who died in a shark attack. We don't know the person's name, so please remember her family, and I don't know if there's anybody else who wants to remember anybody today. If not, we'll go to the meditation.
Moment of silence. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today, first of all, just grateful that you've assembled us today. We ask that you, by your Spirit and by your power and by your might, that we make good decisions on the behalf of the city of Erie and its residents. We ask that you comfort those who mourn, and that be with those who are less fortunate. Help us to make a better city, a better community. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Like that. Thank you.
Approval of the minutes from the August 17th, 2022 City Council meeting and bills for payment on September 9th and 16th. Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Ms. Allen. We have two presentations today.
Yes, we have two presentations. The first one is a certificate of recognition to Brenda Sandberg for her outstanding service to the City of Erie in development of the Erie Bayfront. She served as Executive Director of the Erie Western Pennsylvania Port Authority, as Director of Economic Development, CEO of the Erie Downtown Partnership, and as the City of Erie Zoning Officer. And she was the first female port director on the Great Lakes. So we thank Ed Brzezinski, the liaison to the Port Authority, for doing this recognition certificate, and we'd like to present it to Brenda Sandberg right now, and obviously wish her luck in her new role at Highmark, I believe. Correct? Okay.
Wrong one. That one. Good luck.
Thank you.
Some of the boys are here.
Our next presentation is to the family of the Reverend Charles Kennedy. Later in this meeting, we will be voting to rename for an honorary street naming for Reverend Kennedy. But this is what we said in the resolution. Whereas the City Council of the City of Erie wishes to pay special tribute to the late Reverend Charles Kennedy Jr. as we vote to designate the 500 block of West 7th Street between Walnut and Cherry as Reverend Charles Kennedy Jr. Way. Whereas we pay tribute to the legacy of the late Reverend Kennedy, and we honor his family, including his widow Cindy, his children and grandchildren, and his siblings. Whereas Charles Kennedy Jr. shone a bright light on the many contributions of the late Harry T. Burleigh, composer and arranger, to America's musical heritage. In sharing Burleigh's story, far and wide, Charles introduced Erie and the rest of the world to an American hero. In so doing, Charles became an Erie hero as well. Therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Erie that this commendation is hereby presented to his family to honor Reverend Charles Kennedy, Jr. We extend to them our gratitude for his dedication to the citizens of Erie.
Is there anyone present for repository sales? Is there anyone here to speak on repository sales? Is there anyone here to speak on repository sales? That'll take us to public comments.
And just to let everybody know, we will be taking a break at 9:30 for a public hearing on 2 waterfront conditional use applications. So we may end up having to, stop the public comment till after those public hearings take place. Public comment?
Thank you. Presque Isle Bay is a defining natural attraction of the city of Erie. Any projects that block the view of or access to the bay in Presque Isle State Park or reduce public access to the waterfront will detract from the primary benefit of Erie's prized waterfront attraction. As noted in the Erie Refocused report, the city must treat bayfront property as the prized commodity it is, one that can demand revenue commensurate with its value. A floating World War II warship and nonprofit museum in the bay is not an appropriate use for the bay or our waterfront. There is no location in Presque Isle Bay for a World War II warship that would be a beneficial addition to our beautiful waterfront and to city finances. I encourage the City Council to decline any efforts to place the warship in the bay. Instead, I encourage the Council to focus attention on the development of the Erie Coke property for the benefit of the east side of the city. An even stronger proposal aligned with Erie Refocused would incorporate the Three Forts project proposed in 2018 by Michael Furman and the Jefferson Educational Society in conjunction with the Bayfront Connector pedestrian enhancements to create an entire historical trail and public green space that would beautify the East Bayfront, improve access to the waterfront, increase pedestrian and park space, and create a unique tourist attraction. Imagine being able to walk or bicycle from the Erie Land Lighthouse past 3 historic forts and onto the Erie Maritime Museum and the Brig Niagara, all while enjoying scenic views of the beautiful Presque Isle Bay. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Rebecca Thompson. I reside at 316 East 29th Street. I have complaints and concerns of my neighbors. I've been at my residence for 14 plus years, and they've only been there. It'll be a year, the end of October. I've had I called the police multiple times to my residence due to the fact that They have like 5 or 6 kids. You know, they have biracial kids, and she have like white kids. They meddles me. They encourages them to meddle me. They've been trespassing. I have no trespassing signs all around my property. They had my camera stolen off of my property, and I called the police. The police, you know, they took a report and everything. So now that I have to go out and purchase more cameras, and I don't think it's fair to me, now that my cameras is gone, now they're doing what they want to do. Just this past Sunday, they had company over there next door to me, and they blocking my driveway. I went out and I told them, I said, don't park in my driveway. And here goes his reply. He said that, are you leaving? I mean, it doesn't matter if I'm leaving or not. This is my private driveway. It's not a shared driveway. You know, they plays in my driveway, writes in my driveway, do what they wants to do. I've told them to stay out multiple times. I'm tired of it. Everybody telling me what I can't do, but is there anything that I can do? I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it. I'm almost at a point to where I just want to move. I'm just tired of the riffraff. You know, I just don't know what to do anymore. You know, I never had a problem until they moved in over there. Never had a problem. Never had the police at my house. I don't do that. So, who can help me? What can I do? I'm a disabled senior, so what can I do? Is there anything that I can do? I want to stop this problem before it gets out of control. It's ongoing, been ongoing since October, since they moved there. So I'm almost like, I feel like I've been victimized twice by law enforcement officials and by my neighbors.
The police chief is here in the back. Chief, would you be able to talk to the speaker afterwards and see from your perspective what can be done? Because I know it's been frustrating to you. You called me and yeah. Yes. So if we can go right from your speaking at the podium to getting you some resources and ideas,
yes,
that would be helpful.
I've had them on camera, everything. Now my camera's gone. And I just want some law enforcement official to just go and tell them, you know, that if they continue to meddle me, you know, that they're going to press charges against them. I can't fight them alone. And he's a guy, you know, he don't care. He's notorious, sell drugs, because I've seen the transactions. You know, I've seen it. I've seen it all over there. The detective went out, Detective Walker, and it's another detective. You know, they told me the house looks terrible over there, broken windows, everything. They kids just terrorizing the neighborhood. They just doing all kind of stuff. I hate it over there. I hate it. I'm paying my taxes too. I don't usually complain. This is my first time I've been here. I don't do that. You know, I'm not a troublemaker. You know, I try to keep peace with them. They're not peaceful people. They're not pleasant. So I just keep to myself, mind my own business, stay in my own lane. That's what I do. But I'm not going to let them run over me. That's why I should have called the police Sunday when they was blocking my driveway for about a half an hour. But I did not. Try to be nice. So I'm tired of it. I have to barricade myself in my own house. No one should have to live like that. I pay my taxes up there too. So I need some protection, somebody to protect me. It's not about paying taxes. You know, doing the right thing. Respect.
Thank you for sharing your
Thank you.
Your anxiety and your story.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comment?
Good morning. Molly Bechtel, 820 Cranberry Street. Times change, approaches change, funding sources change. Some things do not change in the city of Erie. First and foremost is our poverty rate. We are one of the poorest cities in the country. We have a child poverty rate in the city that's approaching 50%. We cannot separate youth violence from youth poverty. To do so would be willingly turning the eye to the challenges of our community. Jamestown, Cleveland, Harrisburg, Pittsburgh all have used ARP funds to fund universal basic income pilots. We have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity with ARP funds to change the poverty rate in this city. Even the mayor said in 2017 it's embarrassing. But in 2022, what have we done? Our approach to public safety doesn't change. We continually ignore a public health approach. We're still here talking about a crisis car when President Biden just approved $15 billion for services that would be better handled if they do not include law enforcement. Is that the crisis car? In addition to that, the president has funded $5 billion in community violence intervention. So as we're continually sitting here stuck in status quo solutions, stuck in a public safety approach, the same old solutions are going to get the same old results. We need to fund root causes of violence. We can't continue to ignore our poverty rate. It's appalling. We can't ignore the fact that we're in the 2022. Policing has changed. There's a lot of departments that are completely removing social services from police department. But yet we're talking about adding more and more and more services provided by our police department so they're not able to focus on violence. I'm sorry, but none of this makes sense to me. And especially, as I stated, there's $15 billion in federal funding for services that are better handled if they do not include law enforcement. The administration has said that they would seek additional funding sources. Why are we still talking about a crisis car? Let's get into 2022, a current approach to public safety that includes a public health approach and focusing on root causes of violence. Thank you.
Are there any other public comments? Oh. Thank you, Michael.
Good morning, Honorable City Council. My name is Michael Outlaw. Address is 432 East 26th Street, Erie, Pennsylvania, Apartment 2. What hasn't changed across, not just in Erie, Pennsylvania, but across America, is that the amount of time we spend today in City Council, somebody that looks like me and others on this council is going to be shot in the streets of America. And so we have a crisis, not just in Erie, but across America. And our first responders, Erie Police Department, other departments across America are doing their best to be preventative to these issues that's occurring across America. In times past, enforcement was the prong that addressed these issues that occurs in our communities. So now we're taking an approach that is trying to get ahead of the issues, that's impacting our community. So I think that's very strategic. I think that is intentional. But in order for that to happen, we need the resources and the manpower to put officers on the street to prevent the killing of black boys and black men in Erie, Pennsylvania. A date I will never ever forget, April 8th, 1999, on Glendale. My brother, Eddie Outlaw Jr., was murdered in Erie, Pennsylvania. So this stuff hit different for me. I'm not here using slogans and et cetera, but I live in those communities where the violence has been increased. And to make matters worse, in 1999, a juvenile murdered my brother. In 2022, juvenile crimes are upticking. So maybe if we had these services, this crisis unit, this juvenile unit back in place back in the day in 1999, maybe some of these issues that's plaguing our community would be less intrusive. So I'll be short. I'm hoping and believing that the heart of City Council understands we need manpower. We need officers on these streets to help patrol and prevent this genocide that's occurring in Erie, Pennsylvania and across America. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning, City Council. My name is Tawan Taylor. You used to call me Mr. T. I reside at 843 East 6th Street, Erie, PA, 16507. Just listening to everybody today, and everybody had some good points. We do need a lot of help. We do need manpower. We need people on the streets. I grew up in these neighborhoods too. I work in these neighborhoods daily. I work for free in these neighborhoods daily. I do whatever is possible to prevent violence, poverty, the feeling of not being included every day. I see it every day. I talk to neighbors, youth, parents, teachers, police. I talk to everyone in the community. I bother y'all sometimes. Violence is bad all over, all over. And when I look at the places that it's reduced, isn't more police. It's more programs addressing poverty. It's more opportunities for young kids to become what they want to become. It's more belief in our youth. Not saying we just gonna lock you up. Some people make mistakes at 12 and 13, 14. And if we just lock them up and throw away the key, how do you recover? I am 47 years old. I'm not the same man I was when I was 14. I'm not the same man I was when I was 45. I'm getting better every day. The reason I'm getting better is as a man, I'm presented with different and better opportunities. I can tell you right now, I'm the man that I am today because I've watched people die in my community. I'm a better man today because I watched brothers, my brother, uncle, dad, go to jail for doing dumb things in our community. And why did they go to jail? Because there was no opportunity in our community. So if we saying, hey, the opportunity is we got this one chance you get all this money. Let me ask you this. real simple, and I'm going to just stop. If everybody here, you hit the Powerball today, get this one big lump sum of money, you can secure your youth's future, your children's future, or would you buy the best security system money could buy? What would be your first, I'm going to secure my kid's future? I'm pretty sure all of you will do the same. All I'm saying is, all the kids in this city, they're your kids. You're up here now. They're your kids now. Everything. So the decision is tough. It's a tough decision. Not for me. Kids first, all the time. Youth first, all the time. That's simple. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more public comment? We might have time for probably one more person before we switch to the public hearing. Frank, there's nobody online, correct?
There are two, Jenny Haggerty and Sheila Wagner. I sent them a message in the chat. I have not received anything back. I could bring them in if you wanted to see if they could talk.
Okay, thank you.
Sheila?
Good morning, members of council, the attending audience. I'm Sheila Ellen Woger. I reside at 2011 Fairmount Parkway here in the city of Erie, Pennsylvania. All I have to say today is, with all that's going on in the world, Jesus Christ is the answer for the world today. We acknowledge him in our pledge. We recognize him in our Constitution. But I have not heard anyone acknowledge him in regards to the problems in society today. When you look at the history of policing, it started during slavery to capture runaway slaves. And that's a spirit that is governing our policing today. We are spirit beings learning to be human. We're not human learning to be spiritual. It's time that we as a people acknowledge the God who is the God of all. Because until the heart of a man is changed, pouring money into a problem is like pouring new wine into old wineskins. It's not going to work. The money is going to run out. The person's heart is going to be the same. We need these so-called men of God to stand up, and instead of asking the city for money, leading them to Christ. Because Jesus Christ is the answer for the world today. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have 2 minutes now. Is there anybody else there?
Jenny Haggerty?
Am I able to speak?
Yes.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Jenny.
You can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Good morning, City Council members. Thank you for the opportunity. I'll keep it brief, knowing that you have very important things to discuss on your agenda. I don't believe anyone doubts the need for an increase in American Rescue monies for our police, who do their level best to support Erie County and the city. There are many agencies in our community that are completely qualified to handle issues such as drug overdose, domestic violence, and homelessness. And my hope is that when and if this is approved, that those resources will be put into the hands of those individuals who can keep these people safe in transitional living, permanent housing, or emergency shelters. Because again, there is a difference between the law enforcement and also making sure that we have the right credential individuals serving the needs. So the hope is that some of those monies, if approved, are going to help support the many agencies in our community that do good work and continue to provide a future for the people served. Thank you so much. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Jenny. And I think we're ready. It's time now, correct? Watches are synced and everything for the public hearing, correct? I'm looking at Kathy. to
Yes,
make sure.
okay.
Okay.
Good morning.
If there's anybody else, they can speak after the public hearing. If there's anybody who's still waiting there. Thank you.
Okay, this is the time. My name is Catherine Doyle. I'm Deputy Solicitor of the City of Erie. This is time for a public hearing for a conditional use application. There are 2 hearings set today. What's going to happen is the applicant, we're going to take the first applicant who will present their case to City Council. City Council may ask questions of the applicant. Then there will be an opportunity for anyone who opposes the application to present testimony to City Council. So the first conditional use application is submitted by Diamond Design on behalf of Lance Besner and Marissa Hughes for the construction of a single-family dwelling located at 249 East 2nd Street. If the applicant can come up to the podium and the court reporter will swear them in. Is the applicant here today? If you could state your name and your business address for the record.
Good morning, Lance Besner, and business address is 120 East 2nd Street, Erie, Pennsylvania, and residence is 3 East 4th Street, Erie, Pennsylvania.
And if you can keep your voice up, sir.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I do.
And if you want to just go ahead and present your case to City Council.
Thank you, City Council, for hearing our case. And myself, Lance Besner, and my wife, Marissa Hughes, intend to build our primary residence on East 2nd Street at 249 East 2nd Street, where we intend to live for the next 20-plus years. And we work nearby at the UPMC Hammett Heart Institute, and we are looking forward to being longtime resident of East 2nd Street.
Are there any questions from council members?
Maybe I missed them, but have you submitted sketches and the drawings to council so that we could review them?
Yes, everything has been submitted by Diamond Design, yes.
We have the design. The design committee has to approve the application before it gets submitted to City Council. Do we have Planning Commission? And the Planning Commission has approved. So there's a 2-step approval process before it becomes before City Council.
How many square feet is it going to be?
It's going to be 2,500 square feet.
And how high? Total.
It's going to be under the 35 feet requirement, so less than 35 feet.
35. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? I drove by yesterday, I think, so thank you for investing in the city on the east side and close to your work. So you'll be able to walk to work or you'll just be, right?
Absolutely, it's less than 1 block away.
Okay. Now, Kathy, we ask if there's any other comment
Yes.
from anybody else?
Thank you. Does anyone oppose the application? You may come up and testify now.
Okay. And we don't vote on this today, but it would likely be on the next agenda, correct?
Correct.
September 21st for our next meeting, okay?
We understand.
Okay. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you very much.
But is there any, we don't have anybody else online either, Frank, who? I don't believe so. Okay. I should, well, I'll defer to Kathy to say.
That's fine.
It's okay.
You're used to running the meeting. Thank you. That will close the first hearing.
Thank you.
Okay, the second hearing is a request for waterfront conditional use submitted by Donald Morphy for the construction of a single-family dwelling located at 463 West Front Street.
Good morning. My name is Donald Morphy. It's going to be my residence at the site. I do. So there was a up and down apartment building that was in sad repair there that I tore down several years ago, and we are building a 3-story single-family resident right on the corner of West Front Street, next to the park there. So that's a brand new building, architecturally designed, that will be my, hopefully, retirement home. I currently live on 920 West 9th Street in a significantly larger building with one person living in it. So this is going to be basically a garage under, single floor living on the 2nd floor. I believe you have all the prints and plans in front of you.
Are there any questions from council? As I thank the others, thank you for also investing in the city. And I think, are you still in your family's house on West 9th Street?
Yes, I am. Yes, right. Yes.
I knew him as Donnie Murphy when he was a kid.
That's right.
So.
Yeah, my 3 boys are all gone and raised and have their own houses in the city, so time to move on into something smaller.
Okay. So now we ask if there are any
Yes, thank you.
opponents. Thank you,
Are there
Donald.
anyone here to oppose the application? Okay. At this time, we'll close the second hearing. Thank you. I'll turn it back over to you, President.
Okay. So I think we're going to make a last call for any public comment to make sure we didn't miss anybody.
Since I'm here and I'm hearing that, I'll make a comment. My name is Jennifer Kennedy Woodard. I reside at 545 West 7th Street. I also run Community of Caring, which is a homeless shelter in the city. I would like to speak to the fact that our police force is definitely important and needed. I definitely think some of those ARP funds would be well served to be used for additional education. Mental illness is also on the rise in our city. Homelessness is on the rise in our city. And I interact with police who are very well informed in dealing with mental illness and those who are not so well informed. I think a crisis car would be a great complement to add back and would be well served in our community. But for our youth, for our police, for our public, education would be a good use of those funds as well, so that everyone can be well informed how to deal with mental illness, how to deal with violence. There are so many reasons that cause violence. Poverty is certainly one of those, but knowing how to deal with everyone is money well spent. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, Lori, I think we can move on then.
Ordinances for final passage. Council File Number 16306, Official Ordinance 47-2022, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $500 from appropriated and anticipated revenue from donations made by Joe and Jody Bruno. Sponsored by Mr. Brzezinski, seconded by Mr. Troop. The Council File Ordinance Bill Number 13306, and now known as Official File Ordinance 47-2022, be finally passed by City Council. Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Ms. Allen. City Council pass Official File Ordinance 47-2022 by yeas 6, nays 0. Council File Number 16307, Official Ordinance Number 48-2022, an ordinance extending the term of existence of the Erie Parking Authority for an additional period of 50 years, authorizing and directing the proper city officials to take all action required to implement the purpose of this ordinance, and repealing any inconsistent ordinances and providing for the effective date hereof. Sponsored by Mr. Witherspoon, seconded by Ms. Flores. The Council File Ordinance Bill Number 16307, and now known as Official File Ordinance 48-2022, be finally passed by City Council. Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Ms. Allen. City Council passed Official File Ordinance 48-2022 by yeas 6, nays 0. Council File Number 16308, an Official Ordinance 49-2022, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $73,000 from unappropriated and unanticipated revenue to provide for the expenditure thereof for the Perry Square Electric Project, bid 1792-22. Funding is from the grant from the Perry Square Alliance. Sponsored by Mr. Troop, seconded by Ms. Flores. The Council File Ordinance Bill Number 16308, and now known as Official File Ordinance 49-2022, be finally passed by City Council. Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Ms. Allen. City Council pass Official File Ordinance 49-2022 by yeas 6, nays 0. Ordinance for first reading. Council File Number 16309, an ordinance increasing the compensation of Erie City Council members, repealing any inconsistent ordinances, and providing for the effective date hereof. This will increase City Council members from $6,000 to $10,000 per year, and $7,500 for Council President to $12,000, and it will not go into effect until January 1st, 2024. Sponsored by Ms. Flores, seconded by Mr. Keys. That Council File Ordinance Number 16309, having been read, is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys.
Do we have any discussion on this? I would like to discuss why I'm voting no.
Do you want me to finish the votes? Do you want to discuss now?
Call for the vote.
All right, I'm talking afterwards, though.
Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Troop,
No.
Mr. Witherspoon, Ms. Allen.
No. I just want members of the public to know that Erie City Council will, when this passes at the next meeting, will now be among the highest paid council members in the state of Pennsylvania. The Harrisburg makes twice as much, but we will be right up there with York. I would have supported a much lower raise, but a 67% raise when council hasn't figured out how to deliver more to those who elect them is not right. We did establish committees under my leadership. Those committees are working. I acknowledge the committee people who have dived into work as committees. But those committee meetings now have to move to the next level. Those meetings should be advertised and be public. I just saw some information from the Pennsylvania News Media Association reminding one of the other municipalities in Pennsylvania that committee meetings are subject to the Sunshine Act. So I expect that even though these council members, this won't go into effect, there are people who are going to run for re-election and will benefit from a 67% raise. So I hope that those who elect them will hold them to work harder, smarter, and have additional public meetings.
I'd like to speak. So, so yes, there's an increase for city council, and the people here do it because they love the city, and they do it as a service to the city. Being compensated for it does, someplace in a little book I read, it says a servant is worthy of his hire. And we're doing a job, it's a big job, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of resources to do it. And it has not been raised since 1986. And if you put a 3% in every year from 1986 over the past 35 years, that would be what other people in this building experienced over the past 35 years is 3 to 5% raises. It would be even way above what Harrisburg makes. So.
I would like the same people who were here in 1986. And we have term limits. So you can only serve 12 years now. So that's not a valid comparison, but use your numbers.
After seeing in the past as a community organizer how many council members have tried in the past to increase the current pay of city council with the support of other members, it was prudent to actually have this vote before any of us were going to be going up for re-election, get it out of the way so that the next group that will be running for re-election has more financial freedom to go out on community meetings, and coffee and gas and rent increases aren't such a implement on what they're able to achieve in their public service. So this increase was with diligence of knowing what's on council and who supports it, and after 40 years of it being frozen, it was needed. So this was something that other council members have tried in the past to do and have failed, but once you know who's currently sitting at the table and who supports what they support, we can get things moving. So none of the current sitting city council members will benefit from this, only if they are re-elected when the time comes, which would be in 2024 and 2026, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, so thank you.
Madam President, when you look at Allentown, Reading, which are similar population than we have, we're actually making about the same as they are. So I don't, you know, when we came on the city council, I mean, I have a regular day job, and that's my main source of income. I didn't come on city council to look at it as a way of making money. So I think we're where we're supposed to be in terms of cities of our size and our population. So that's just my comments. That's why I'm voting no on it.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? City Council read and adopt Council File Ordinance Number 16309 by yeas 4, nays 2 on first reading. Council File Number 16310, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $821,502 to be received from the U.S. Department of Justice as an Innovations in Community-Based Crime Reduction CBCR program grant, and will be utilized to focus on Erie Eastside neighborhood and crime reduction. sponsored by Mr. Brzezinski, seconded by Mr. Troop, that council file ordinance number 16310, having been read, is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Ms. Allen. City Council read and adopt council file ordinance 16310 by yeas 6, nays 0 on first reading.
Madam Clerk. Or Madam President, rather, I'd just like to comment on this. I would like this plan that has been written and accepted by the Justice Department to be in the hands of council before we make a second vote on this.
Renee, I think, didn't we did receive this, I believe. I looked through my email. Maybe I was looking at something different, but yeah. Okay, I think there were 3 documents with it, if I'm correct. Okay. But yeah, I know it's hard sometimes to get a lot of stuff.
No, I was looking for the plan that was submitted to the Department of Justice, that it was said it was just approved.
So the plan that the grant was based on, right? Is that what you're asking for? Because I think there was a plan that was submitted for the grant. Is that right?
Oh, I was gonna say, oh, no, I thought you, no, the grant goes back to 2019. It was awarded in 2019, and according to Ms. Lamus, they've been working on the plan since then, and it's finally been finalized. And so I'd like a chance to read it and study it.
Okay. Thanks, Renee. Getting all that background will be helpful.
Council file number 16311, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $30 from appropriated and anticipated revenue from donations made in the memory of William Moskey. Sponsored by Mr. Brzezinski, seconded by Mr. Troop. The council file ordinance number 16311, having been read, is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Ms. Allen. City Council read and adopt council file ordinance number 16311 by yeas 6, nays 0 on first reading. Okay, this takes us to new business.
Do we want to move the balance and then have separations?
Move the balance.
Second.
Separations? I'm going to separate number 1 just so we can formally acknowledge to the Kennedy family that we're doing that action.
Any other separations?
There'll be comments anyway, so you might as well do number 2.
Any other separations? Okay, moving the balance of the agenda. Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, and Ms. Allen. Resolution number 1, sponsored by Mr. Witherspoon, seconded by Ms. Allen. Resolved by the Council of the City of Erie to designate the 500 block of West 7th Street between Walnut and Cherry Streets as Reverend Charles Kennedy Jr. Way. Charles is remembered for many contributions to our community, including his roles as a teacher, minister, musician, singer, and director and life coach. One of his most outstanding accomplishments is that he showed Erie, and indeed the world, why we should honor, celebrate, and preserve the life of famed composer Harry T. Burleigh. With this street renaming, we honor another hero, Reverend Charles Kennedy Jr., who left us far too soon in 2009 at age 59. Discussion?
I just wanted to welcome thank Johnny Johnson for being the motivator to get this done. I had some miscommunication with him that we thought it was going to be on the agenda last time, and I goofed up. So thank you for your patience, and truly thank you for. Without Charles Kennedy Jr., I may have known who Harry T. Burley was, but I wouldn't have known about his impact. And carrying that on today, I think when the Legacy Alliance had its recent get-together, hearing Dr. Walter Priest talk about the impact that this musician has on the American songbook just really hit me. That, you've told us for years about why we need to know who Harry T. Burley was, but to understand truly, there's been bios, there's been programs, there have been the storytelling that Charles did. But it just finally hit me that this is an Erie person. There's two Erie people who have made such an impact, and I'm glad that we're able to do this. So thank you for your patience. Any other comments?
Good morning, City Council. Johnny Johnson, 223 Walnut Street, Erie, PA. Former member of the Heritage Borough Society, which was founded by Charles Kennedy Jr., and now which is the Burley Legacy Alliance, which I am the president of. I just want to thank City Council and those who were instrumental in having this done for who I think one of the greatest people who ever lived in the city of Erie, Pennsylvania. I'm not talking about Harry T. Burley, I'm talking about Charles Kennedy Jr. Charles Kennedy Jr. had a tremendous impact on this community as for young people, as for the religious community, and as far as saying that Erie is a great place to live and a great place to be. And I just want to say that what we're doing today, not only with Charles Kennedy Jr., but Celestine Davis and other streets who have been named, that this is a legacy for young black kids in this city to know that there were black people who were instrumental in helping them form Erie, Pennsylvania. Thank you very much.
Any other comments? I think we can vote, Lori.
Voting on the resolution, Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Ms. Allen. Resolution passes. Yeas 6, nays 0. Number 2, we have a resolution sponsored by Mr. Brzezinski, seconded by Ms. Allen, that with the fact that President Biden has announced his intentions to provide additional funding specifically for police, and as we as a city need to reestablish our crisis car unit, I propose the following. In order for the city to be in a better position to receive additional funding, let it be resolved that Erie City Council hereby rescinds the prior resolution limiting the city's police complement to $175 at least until the ARP funds runs out. Discussion?
I just want the public to know that there is an ordinance already on the books that caps the police department at 204, so they cannot exceed the 204 cap. I just wanted the public to know that. Thank you.
Ed?
No other comments? Yeah. Jasmine is right there. This is much ado about nothing. This was Rocky, Mr. Nelson's ploy to stir up a whole lot of garbage that should have never been stirred up. The 175 was a resolution. I'm taking it off the table right now because I don't want that to look like a limitation to the folks in Washington who might be sending us more money for our police and for our, especially the crisis center. We need that car on the road. We need those guys on the street all the time. It's, you know, it was kind of a silly article in this morning's paper. When you finish reading it on page 6, you turn the page and they talk about the people that were shot on 12th and Parade. I rest my case on that, and she is right. The ordinance says 204. It has to be changed later. It gives us a lot more room, and it gives our people the chance to do what we wanted them to do in the first place. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. And I just want to let people know that the solicitor's office is working on updating that ordinance. So it does go back many decades. So, and I do want to call attention to the story in today's newspaper or on Go Erie. The council member who made these comments isn't here. He's at a work conference. But it's just really interesting that he says he's talking about members of council.
Madam President, before you even go there, may I just say one thing?
Okay.
He makes a comment in the paper that this resolution was put on when I knew he wasn't going to be there. He didn't know he wasn't going to be here until after the agenda was on. So make that clarification. I call him Rocky because his solution for the parkway was to give people bricks to throw at cars to slow them down. I'm a little tired of his garbage. He plays this card all the time. He talks to you one way, and then he calls the paper and gives them garbage. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, anyhow, I just wanted to say, here's the quote. I think it's notable that between the mayor and 3 council members, we have 4 people who are supporting this in their 70s. This older generation has recognized that it's more dangerous for them, but that's not because the community is changing, it's because they're changing. And I'm not quite sure what that means, that like I'm 70 years old, so I'm going to like go out on the street and fall down, or I already broke my ankle when I was 50 when I was a runner, so I'm very careful when I walk. That we're talking about youth being targeted and being the ones with the guns. So when you're 70 years old, guess what? You care about the younger generation. I'm a mother. I'm a bereaved mother. I've lost a son to an illness. I have grandchildren. Your caring doesn't stop because you're 70 years old. If anything, you're more in touch with what kids are going through, no matter where they live, what happened during COVID, the isolation that they experienced. I went to visit my son in Maryland when he and his wife, my daughter-in-law, were home with 5 kids during COVID. I also saw some good things that happened. I saw my grandchildren have to take time out from their schoolwork to go help their youngest sister, who's blind, get on Zoom because she doesn't know how to look and see when it's time to talk or not talk on Zoom. I'm 70 years old. I'm proud of it. I have wisdom, but I never forget those who are younger than me. I worked with teenagers when I was at the newspaper. I see what they've accomplished because they had a voice. So I think I always thought the term ageism, you know, we have so many prejudices out there and biases, but now I'm experiencing ageism, and I'm going to fight back against it. So, Michael, I think you wanted to talk.
Yes, so I just want to clarify, because the narrative is seemingly as if we are defunding or underfunding the police. So for the official record, this year we have expanded the police force by 9 officers. We have not taken any officers off of the street. We have added 9 officers. What the police department decided to do with the officers were on their priority list. If the crisis car was their #1 priority, that's more than enough officers to staff the crisis car. They chose to deploy them other places, and so they still would like another 9 officers for the crisis car. And so I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I want to make that clear. We have expanded this police force. We have used ARP funds to fund this police force, and I really think it's disingenuous to keep saying that we're hurting this police force. We are helping this police force.
No?
Yes, Madam. Madam President, I received phone calls this morning, just before I got here. I didn't see the news article, but I did read some parts of it in the caucus room. We tell our citizens we agree to disagree, but yet the article pointed out to old folks. If you don't listen to your parents, who are more wiser than you simply because they've been around longer than you, you're headed for trouble. When my term is up, I've given 20 years, and I've learned a lot from the best. Mr. Bagnoni, Mr. Thompson, Mr. Brabender, Ruby Jenkins' husband. That's where I learned. They care about the city. Madam President, the article is shameful. It's personal. So tell Mr. Nelson that because you grow older, you don't become weaker, you become wiser. And in many cases, you become stronger. I'm a little older than Madam President, just a little. 77. I run every day. I hit the heavy bags 4 times a week. I hit the speed bag every day. I'm in pretty good shape. He attacked me personally. And I don't know if that's why we have the police officers here today. But we need as many police officers on our streets. I share the feeling of Mr. Outlaw, who lost a brother. So did I, to gun violence. I lost my brother years ago, not in Erie, in Newark, New Jersey. He was shot with a sawed-off double-barrel shotgun. Wasn't much left. At that point, I could have turned and go looking for the individuals. But there were some older gentlemen who convinced me not to do it. Not my peers, older, wiser. And the individuals that turned me around spent 20 years in Rollway State Prison. They've been there. I could have been there. We need as many police officers on the streets and to testify before police officers was at the basketball court on East 19th Street. The first 2 or 3 years, we had trouble. Once they appeared, we've had no trouble, and we ran the league for 32 years. So don't tell me it don't work. Even the police officers one day told me, Mel, we're going to have trouble today. We monitor Facebook. Sure enough, trouble folks came. They knew who they were and was taken care of without incident. So yes, I am pro police officers, without a doubt. Let the world know it. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Witherspoon.
Madam President, I like that. The things that are going on in our city today and across the world, as Mr. Outlaw pointed out, and across our country, don't just affect 5-year-olds. It doesn't just affect 25-year-olds. It doesn't just affect 70-year-olds. We're all in this together. So we can't make this about one age group versus one. This is about our city and everybody who lives in it. And that includes 75-year-olds, that includes 5-year-olds. And we all know of a tragedy that happened recently involving somebody under 10. Okay, we all heard Mr. Outlaw, what he was talking about, his brother who was a teenager. I know someone personally who is in their 70s who has 8 bullet holes in their house now from gunfire. So I mean, to say that, you know, 70-year-olds are out of touch, that's, I can't disagree with that anymore. Most of you know that I play music, and I started a group from the ground and brought it up, and it's well known around the city now. And one of the people, most of the people who I go to say, hey, what can I do better? I was just riding with the person the other day, I believe he's in his 70s. And he was like he's the one of the, I gave him the credit for helping me get to where I am today, because he had already crossed the road where I was trying to go. And so I'll ask him, like, what can I do better? Come to my show and see what we can do better. Let me know what you think. Because he's been there. He has the wisdom, the knowledge, and you know, we talk about the village. People say, it takes a village to raise a child. In those villages, who was the most respected people? Before decisions were made, who did the village go to say, what do you think? So everybody wants to use that village analogy. But when we think about the village, the elders in those villages were well respected because they've been there, they've crossed the river 1,000 times. And like I said, let's not make this about age, because we all live in this city. And we all want to feel safe. Safety is like a huge thing. And the police are a big part of that. Can you imagine a city without them? If we had to solve those problems ourselves? If our neighbor was acting up, as one of our citizens talked about today, and we had no one to call but ourselves, can you imagine that? Are the police the only tool that we need? No. But they are, like on a tire, like the spokes, they are one of the most important spokes on the wheel, along with other education and things like we heard today. And let's not make it a battle between each other of ages. Let's know that we all in this together. This is our city. That's all. Thanks, Madam President.
Madam President, just
Yes.
1 minute. In case anybody didn't notice, I'm a white boy, but I'm a white boy that was brought up on 4th and Wallace, and some of my best friends were not white. So I didn't pay attention to that stuff back then. What does bother me now, it took me 25 years to graduate from East High. I was there as a teacher, as a coach, athletic director, ran the rallies, all that kind of stuff. But every time we hear of Eddie Outlaw or of a Tate or a Beeson, these were my kids when they were growing up. And it's generational now. It just seems like it doesn't stop. And I want it to stop. And that's why I'm firmly behind what I was talking about today. You know, one more thing with age. It was a famous philosopher. The guy's name was John Wayne. He once said, if you can't, I'm sorry, but I gotta say it. If you can't respect your elders, then you better fear your betters. This guy's still hitting a heavy bag. Don't forget that. Thank you very much.
I'm going to ask Mel, you could teach me some of that, couldn't you? Not to use it for any bad reason, just to keep in shape. We did it in water aerobics the other day, but it, you know, with old people. All right, are there any other comments
Yeah, let's
before we
not
vote?
lose track. A little bit of laughter was good, but this is a very, very, very serious situation.
It is.
And we're putting it into the hands that people know how to do it. Thank you.
Are we ready to vote? Any other comments?
Voting on the resolution, Mr. Brzezinski?
Yes.
Ms. Flores?
No.
Mr. Keys? Mr. Troop? Mr. Witherspoon? Ms. Allen? Resolution passes. Yeas 5, nays 1. Madam President, this takes us to committee reports.
All right. Michael, do you want to start with committee reports? Michael, Jasmine, Ed, and then Mel? Is that okay?
I'm going to defer today. No report. I would like to make a comment, though, that it does take a village to raise a child, and we have to figure out a way to create a village that is capable of raising a child. Because right now, we are failing and using the same tactics that have failed is not gonna strengthen our village. And so we have to, so this is my call to the community leaders. We have to get together. We have to work on a solution that's holistic and all-encompassing, that will have the desired effect. Thank you.
Thank you. Jasmine?
The Blighted Property Committee meets next Wednesday, and then the EMTA meets the following week, so there is no report at the moment, other than the Blighted Property is still looking for people to submit their resumes to be appointed, so we're trying to fill that position. That would be greatly appreciated. We're looking for someone who lives in the community, who has been vocal on issues that affect people's living conditions. That would be great. Thank you, and that's all I have to report.
Jasmine, can you just tell people when that committee meets? Because it's not a huge time commitment, but it is.
They meet on Zoom the second Wednesday of every month at 9 a.m., and the meeting is normally done within 30 minutes. It's a really nice and organized committee, and they have all the information sent prior to the meeting, such as the agenda and the properties that we're going to be reviewing. So it is a committee that if you don't have a lot of time, but you want to dedicate at least an hour, you can definitely accomplish that in the short time that they
And I think I've always thought of it as a good introduction to what the housing situation is in Erie in terms of,
it really gives you insight on what's going on as far as our housing stock and the conditions that a lot of the residents have been living in up until a certain point when we started to really shine light on, certain conditions. So it is definitely a way into at least seeing how things are ran throughout the city.
Thank you very much. Mr. Brzezinski, do you have a report?
I think I said enough already today for the most part.
Okay.
I do want to make one comment. Jasmine's taken a lot of heat for her comments about the Celebrate Erie situation. I don't agree with her calling it racist, because it isn't. I wasn't invited either. But it was not something that we should be proud of. We are a council. We are independent from the fifth floor. We hold the dollar bills. We should have a figure, not that we're looking for handouts out there to go to a party or whatever, but we should be at least acknowledged as more than a rubber stamp for something that comes down from the fifth floor. We need to find out about things as they are happening, not after they're planned and done and handed to us. There was a tour of the Kohler building. I'm liaison to police and fire, and I wasn't even invited to the damn thing. These are things that have to change for our council to be somebody, it's something to be respected. That's all I have. Have a great weekend.
Madam President, I don't have a report today.
Mr. Witherspoon.
Thank you, Madam President. Basically, no report. Just a comment that let's put Celebrate Erie in our budget for passes, tickets, whatever. Put it in the budget. And then we can go from there. I know it's a sponsored type thing, but, well, if we need to be a financial sponsor, then we need to do it. Do what's necessary, and I think everyone will be happy at that point. Finally, the basketball league is over. It went through, 0 problems at the court. I will report to you our total number of registrants, our total number that we ended up with. The parent involvement was super this year. I'm just pleased with all the help. Parents came out and became very instrumental in working with the kids. And one lady told me, I didn't think my son act like that. I said, yeah, we got him under control, but he was acting up and he didn't know his mom was in the crowd. So I don't know. I better check and see if he's still alive. But thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mel. I just have a short report. A number of us, I know Jasmine was there, and I think Mr. Nelson were at the Jefferson Educational Society. Maybe others were there. I sat in the back because I had to leave early to hear about the Parade Street East Side Renaissance Project. Also, yesterday I went to the announcement in front of Bees Appliance for the, I think it's the grant and loan programs from the county's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. So there are things going on out there. I think we're in a fragmented, and I've said it before, a fragmented communication channel. So sometimes people aren't aware of different things that are going on. We had talked about Michael had asked for more information about the anti-violence program that's going to be coming to the east side. So there is a job opening for a project coordinator for the Byrne grant. Will lead collaborative efforts to improve safety and quality of life in the Erie East Side neighborhood. And that's on Indeed.com. So I think every opportunity we get where we can let people know what's going on in our community, because we're all looking at different things, we're using different social media, whatever we can do to help communicate to the public what those programs are, what the job opportunities are, what the youth efforts are that are going on. There are good things going on, so we can all recommit to helping to spread the word on that. And then I think Teresa is next. She is going to be presenting to us on the...
Yeah, yesterday, thank you. Yesterday I emailed everybody a copy of the 2023 MMO amount. That's going to be in the budget for next year. The city made its final payment for the 2022 just last week, so that's in the accounts right now. We're probably going to look at the accounts and maybe do some rebalancing at that point in time. Other than that, that's all I have. If there's a couple of hard copies in the clerk's office, if anybody needs one.
Did anybody have any questions for Teresa about the pension obligation payment?
Thank you.
It was easy to understand, thank you.
Yeah, it was easy to follow, and we appreciate the update.
Okay. So, Kathy Doyle, Ed Betza, or Renee, do we have anything from the solicitor's office to hear? Okay.
Okay, I'll be quick. A couple things that I wanted to draw your attention to. One was in the agenda, just so everybody knows, the Phase 2 funding, it was number 4 for the Strategic Management Planning Program. That's a follow-up from the PFM report that we had done with the Early Intervention Program. And so we can apply for up to $200,000 at a time, and we had done that initially with the planning grant for digital infrastructure, and now Public Works is applying for the second round. We closed out that grant. Every time we close out a grant, we can apply for another $200,000. So the only caveat is once the funding is gone, then for the year, then you can't get any more. So the funding just opened up for this year, and Public Works is putting in an application, and that's again for them for digitization of infrastructure and for GIS. So that's a great opportunity for us. And then two other things. Wanted to let council know that we opened the applications for the Trades Licensing Board that you all passed. I think it was last meeting. And so we're looking for that board for 2 general contractors, 2 electrical contractors, 2 plumbing contractors, 2 mechanical contractors, a sheet metal worker, a low voltage life safety installer, a sprinkler contractor, an architect or professional engineer, and a member of the public to serve. So it's a committee of 13. The application is available via City Grows online, and the deadline to apply is September 30th. So we'll be pushing that out. Some good news that we got yesterday was the city was awarded a $50,000 grant from the Department of Conservation and National Resources at the state to develop our comprehensive recreation, park, and greenway plan for the city. So that's exciting, and it was doubly exciting because we released our park survey yesterday, which will help to inform this plan. So the public input that we get from that will inform this plan. It will also inform how the ARP funding is used in the qualified census tracts to improve parks and public spaces. And then we've asked people, even if they're parks not within the qualified census tracts, if they could please give us input, because that'll be used for this plan. It will also be used, we can use CDBG funding if they're in low to mod income communities. And then we will be applying for additional grants at the local, state, and federal level to implement as many of the priorities as possible. And that's all I have for today.
Renee, could you just tell everybody how they, I know there's several ways that you can take part in that park.
So,
or the recreation, whatever.
Yes.
You know what I mean. So,
the survey's online. People can get to it at www.erie.pa.us/parksurvey, PARKSURVEY. But we also created a paper survey, and this is available at City Hall. It's pretty simple. People can submit as many as they want, but it asks, specific questions about what kinds of improvements people would like to see made in regard to park improvements, pedestrian infrastructure, street trees, streetscape improvements, bike infrastructure, and public art. And so that's for all city-owned parks and public spaces. We have them available at City Hall, but we're also giving them out to the neighborhood groups, the community centers, and the community schools.
Is there a deadline to respond?
We've tentatively put a deadline of October 3rd, but we want people to have ample time to respond, so if we need to, we will extend that deadline.
Okay, so October 3rd, keep that in mind. And I had two questions in regard to the coordinator who's going to be hired to work on the east side. We heard the concern about somebody having a security camera but having had it stolen. And we've had other people who have asked, could there be money for, private homes to put up their own security cameras? Would that be something that the coordinator might be able to find out if there's a need I've certainly heard it. We had a couple people have spoken to council before. So I'm wondering about that. I'm wondering about another idea that Michael's talked about, a comprehensive plan. I thought that there was a roundtable coming up somewhere on gun violence, but I know Jasmine has asked about, a possible gun give back. And there was just a story, do they work or do they don't work? There's often, discussion that it doesn't work, but I think sometimes as a symbolic effort, it might work. So, and I don't know if that would be something that the burn grant person might keep his or her ear to the ground to find out if there's a groundswell of support for something like that. But just keep those two things in mind, the security cameras and, a gun turn-in or something.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
that, it struck me that when we're talking about we talk about big overarching ways to address issues. I know that Renee and I both got a report on housing that I'm still working my way through with the recommendation that we have a housing summit. So there are people who are working on these things, but sometimes it's hard to let everybody know all the different balls that we have in the air.
Yeah, before I forget, I should have mentioned that the historic preservation training, because there are so many things going on, is Saturday, September 17th. Is that Saturday? Yeah, I think so. From 9 to 4:30. I think everybody got an email from Chris Kinder, our historic preservation planner, and everybody's welcome to attend. He just needs to know exact numbers. Okay. I almost forgot about that. Sorry.
If I could comment. So there were grants that gave, I know definitely nonprofits, I believe private citizens also in certain areas. The Sisters of St. Joseph's had a plan for putting up cameras within their footprint. We probably can pull those old grant documents and find out where they are. I think the caveat in the in the grant was, though, that you had to agree to allow your footage to be used for public safety if you got the free surveillance systems in the different neighborhoods.
And I'm glad you reminded me of that, because I had extended an informal invitation to the DA, Beth Hers, to come and talk to us about the camera program that the DA initiated, and I think there will have been a number of weeks or months since she announced that, so we can have her come and present to council about how that's going and what what you're committing yourself to if you go through that program. I don't think that was free cameras, but I think it was agreeing to have your footage be available. So thanks for reminding me about that.
Madam President?
Yes?
Question, do we have a time for the unveiling of Mr. Hagan's corner?
Yes, I think it's
Yes.
noon.
I know the luncheon, Ms. Houston
I talked to Dave Brennan last night, and I think they were still working on the actual program as of last night, but, who was going to speak when and everything.
It is
but,
noon, though? Noon start?
That's what I wrote, that's what I put on my calendar.
Okay.
I'll make sure Dave, well, Erie Insurance is also helping to coordinate, but I'll make sure that everybody on council gets that
Yeah,
information.
because our next meeting is after
Right.
that. It's scheduled for the 19th, that much I know.
Yeah. Okay, anything else?
Thank you.
I can
Say good
gavel
night.
us to close.
City Council adjourns at 10:34 a.m. Ms. Allen, Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon.